Welcome to another episode of Kookievision. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to create 3 different heart-shaped sugar cookie designs. They're super simple to decorate, but very striking and elegant too. These heart-shaped cookies are about 3 inches tall, and if you have the Wilton 101 cookie cutter bucket, you'll find this heart-shaped cookie in there. I'm starting out by flooding my hearts first. You can do this with a medium consistency like I'm doing here, or you can use a detail consistency to outline your shapes, and then fill it in with a flooding consistency. I have a tutorial for medium consistency royal icing in my royal icing transfers and the magic consistency video. This yellow color was created by using a drop of egg yellow soft gel dye by Americolor with a few drops of bright white soft gel dye by Americolor as well. This keeps the colors soft, muted, but still opaque. The polka dots are a medium consistency as well, and I'm using tipless bags. If you ever need a recommendation for tipless bags, Truly Mad Plastic makes great ones. You can create random dots anywhere you want, but to keep the polka dot pattern nice and even, start out with a line of vertical dots in the middle of the heart, and then create another row beside that, staggering the dots and keeping them evenly spaced. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see a more in-depth video at creating perfect polka dots. When you're doing polka dots like this is called a wet on wet technique, meaning you're adding different colors of icing in the same consistency as the background while it's still wet. It really helps to move each cookie to its own surface, as opposed to working on your cookie sheet with all the other cookies, so that you can give the cookie a little shake if you need to, in order to really settle and flatten your icing completely. This lovely peach color was created by using a touch of pink and yellow, plus a few drops of white. I used Baker's Rose, egg yellow, and bright white soft gel dye by Americolor. Some of these cookies I'm going to leave as a solid colored background, and then others I'm going to do with polka dots. Have fun with the colors though. I'm going for a rainbow pastel theme here. I created a lavender hue by combining a little bit of blue and pink, plus a few drops of white. I used sky blue, Baker's Rose, and bright white soft gel dye by Americolor. I always use a bit of white soft gel dye in my white icing to make it super bright. It also makes your icing more opaque and less susceptible to color bleed. This soft pink is just a touch of pink with a few drops of white. I used Baker's Rose and bright white soft gel dye by Americolor. A soft pastel blue can be made by adding a touch of blue with a few drops of white. I used sky blue and bright white soft gel dye by Americolor. If you get little peaks or points in your icing, just help them settle with your scribe tool. So here's a different cookie view so you can see what I'm doing from the side. This cool mint green can be done by mixing a little bit of green with a few drops of white. I used mint green and bright white soft gel dye by Americolor. For my gift wrapped heart, I'm using a detail consistency white royal icing. There are 2 horizontal lines about halfway across the cookie, and then 2 vertical lines just off the middle of the cookie. I like the way that the offset bow looks as opposed to centering the whole thing. Then I add 2 loops where the lines cross, and 2 lines with a little curl on the end for the tails of the ribbon. I've got these white 7mm sugar pearls for the middle to finish it all off. You're going to want a clean, wet cloth for the fine line work on this next cookie. Always use this to keep your tip clean. For this geometric design, I'm outlining in a white detail consistency royal icing in a tipless piping bag. Then I'm drawing a line diagonally and dividing this space into 4 different sections. I'm piping a series of lines in each section, making sure that I change the direction of the lines in the next section. This also looks really striking if you use the same color for the piping details as your background color too. Just to slow it down for you, you want to work from the top down for this technique because there's only one way the lines can go in the top section. Follow that bottom line. For the second section, you can't follow the line you previously followed, or you'll lose the pattern and these 2 sections will basically turn into one. So follow the bottom line or the right line. I'm going to follow the bottom line of this section. For the third section, you don't want to follow the line you previously followed. You'd follow the bottom line. The line you created when you originally outlined the entire outside of the heart doesn't count as a line to follow since it isn't straight. For the fourth section, again, you don't want to follow the line you previously followed. Follow the line to the right. You wouldn't follow the bottom line because that's part of the heart outline. Technically you could, but I think it looks a lot better when you follow all the straight lines you created when you divided it into sections. This design looks best on a heart with a solid color background so that the geometric lines can be the star of the show. But if you wanted to splatter the background with gold before drawing the lines, that'd look really pretty. Or you could even texturize the opposite side of the heart with a crinkled parchment technique. Here, the only difference is the size of the hole in the tipless piping bag. I've cut it a lot smaller. This means that you can do more lines a lot closer together. This also means a lot more piping, which in turn means you're spending a lot more time on one cookie. And if you're prone to hand cramping, more delicate piping like this can hurt your hands a little bit, especially if you're doing a lot of cookies. But a variety of sizes could look cool in your cookie mix. You can see the comparison between thinner and thicker lines here. Which ones do you prefer? This is a great way to practice your line work. This quilted design is really nice, but it can take a little bit of practice to get completely even if you're doing it freehand. I'm using a white detail consistency royal icing to outline the heart, and then create a series of diagonal squares or diamonds. I like to start or end my line at the middle top of the heart, so that it's even, and so there's a straight row of squares or diamonds going down the middle of the heart. I'm using a fine pair of tweezers and some tiny gold sugar pearls. These ones are about 3 millimeters, and I'm setting them where the lines cross while the icing is still wet. Now, obviously, if you wanted it to be absolutely perfect, you could use a projector, but doing it freehand is great practice for steady lines and spacing. A turntable can really help, as opposed to turning your arms or your body, which can make it really awkward to pipe. You can just turn the cookie depending on which way you're piping. Don't make things more difficult than they need to be. If you can take shortcuts like this to make your lines look better and your life a lot less difficult, then do it. Here's a few things that can make your cookie look a little wonky. A piece of non-slip mat can help your cookie from sliding around as you turn it. Always pipe your border first, not last. If you pipe your border after you're done all the line work, you'll get a really wonky line because you're piping onto an uneven surface. You can also see that my squares look a little odd because the spacing between the lines is off. On this cookie, you can see that it's ever so slightly off. The diamonds going down the middle aren't straight because I didn't cross the lines directly down the middle of the heart. You need to imagine a fold going down the middle of the heart and make sure to cross the lines on that fold. Another way you could get more precise lines is by using a square of graph paper. Turn it onto its corner and create a diamond. Fold it into a triangle, then unfold it and lay it flat. You can set down a piece of non-stick mat to make sure your cookie doesn't move around. Pipe your border and make sure you align the fold of the paper with the top and bottom points of the middle of the heart. Follow the direction of the grid lines to create more straight lines with more even spacing. You'll see how much it helps. They even make cookie turntables with guidelines already on the surface, which would also be really useful. These 3 simple designs combined with a few background colors make a really nice cookie platter for Valentine's Day. In fact, you could do different shapes for different holidays. Using the same exact techniques with egg shapes for Easter or tree shapes for Christmas would be really pretty too. Just change up the background colors. To avoid color bleeding, I like to wait at least a few hours to let the background of the cookie crust over before adding the final details. But since I'm often doing a lot of cookies at a time, I like to do all my flooding on one day and then do the details the next day, just to break apart the workload a bit. Let me know if you'd like to see a video about my cookie decorating schedule. Always remember that simple doesn't have to mean boring. Simple, bold cookies done well can look just as awesome, if not more, than a complicated design. Doing a mix of simple cookies with a few complicated designs as accents can create the perfect set. To get yourself a good recipe for sugar cookies and royal icing, visit the how-to section of my website at sweethartbaking.com. And be sure to subscribe to me here on YouTube so that you don't miss an episode of Kookievision. If you haven't liked me on Facebook or followed me on Instagram, you're missing out, so come find me. To financially support the channel, you can donate to the monthly $1 cookie jar on Patreon, or you can make a one-time coffee-sized donation on Ko-fi. That's it for this episode, guys. Thanks for watching. My name's Kookie, and I'll talk to you next time.